Good morning, students. Welcome to the virtual class of Gyan Niketan Girls School. This is the continuation of the chapter Socialism in Europe and the Russian Revolution. Now, in previous video, we have dealt that the outbreak, what was the reason for the outbreak of February Revolution. Now, in this video, we are going to see that what was the effect, what was the things that changed after February Revolution. See, after February Revolution, things started to change. After February, monarchy fell, Tsar was forced to abdicate, and Russian Empire was taken over by prominent government. Now, provisional government. Now, who were involved in provisional government? Who were there? Who got involved in provisional government? The provisional government was dominated by army officials, landowners, and industrialists. Now, if you remembered previously, we had seen that during February Revolution, Tsar ordered cavalry to stop the demonstrator and start firing on them. But what cavalry did? They refused to do so. Now, army was with Petrograd Soviet. The committee formed after dismissal of Tsar included army officials, landowners, and industries, that is all the people who belong to upper society or class. Liberals and socialists also worked along with them, as they also wanted change, so they worked together with the provisional government to bring change in Russia. Now, provisional government was getting support of everyone at that time after the formation of provisional government, and that time only Lenin came to limelight after the provisional government was formed. This we will see further. Now, what happened? Things changed, and after revolution things that changed was very particular thing, that was restrictions on public meeting and formation of association were removed, as it was imposed previously by the monarchy. It was removed after the formation of provisional government. Now, what happened after restrictions were removed? Now, see, the way Petrograd Soviet was formed after February Revolution, other Soviets were also set up everywhere in city. Now, people were free to form group and express themselves after February Revolution. Now, after that only it was seen that in April 1917, Vladimir Lenin, that is the Bolshevik leader, Vladimir Lenin returned to Russia from exile. Now, here question arises that why was he on exile? He was taking up the revolution. He was the leader of the socialist group. Now he was on exile. Why? See, when Tsar was ruling, he believed that Lenin to be a dangerous, and he was continuously, as Lenin was continuously protesting. So king at that time, what he did? At that time, he ordered his army in country that wherever Lenin was seen, he was to be arrested and made hostage. Now, that's why Lenin was on exile, and he was in other countries till February Revolution and roaming in other countries. Now, in April, he came back to Russia. Now, after just coming back to Russia, he felt that it was time for Soviets to take power from the hand of provisional government. Now, this means that till now the power was held in by provisional government, but after Lenin returned, he said that power should be given to Soviets, and the same ideology that was of Karl Marx, in which Karl Marx said that we shall build up a communist society where workers should take over, and even they don't need any type of government to control them. So now he said that Soviets still held the power, and already freedom was given to the people to form the group, and Bolshevik, since Bolshevik was also a group that came out of a party that was formed illegally in Russia. So he said that the power must be now given to the Soviets, and it must be taken back from provisional government. So Vladimir Lenin put three demands known as Lenin's April Thesis in order to say that the power should be given to the Soviet group. So he came up with a three demand that was known as Lenin's April Thesis. Now, what was Lenin's April Thesis and why he gave this thesis? See, in Lenin April Thesis, there was three demands presented by Lenin. The very first demand was that war should be brought to an end or it must be closed. That was just because Russia was facing a lot of casualties. So it was said that it should now stop, it should now end, and peace must be brought out in Russia. This was the first demand of Lenin. The second demand of Lenin was that land be transferred to the peasant, as it was said by Karl Marx. See here what he said, that socialist society believed that the land should be taken back from nobility and the landowners who had large area of land and must be distributed among the peasants who were in greater need of those land. So this was the second demand of Lenin in his thesis. Now the third demand of Lenin was that bank to be nationalized, that is, the control of bank will be in government's hand and all the regulation will be controlled by the government. So Lenin came with the thesis in which all these three demands was put forward by Lenin. Now after putting forward his demand, he also argued to rename Bolshevik Party as Communist Party, that was Russian Communist Party. Now why he wanted to rename his party? It was just to indicate the new radical aim, means all the demands that was put forward by Lenin, and all the demands were directly connected with the idea of Karl Marx, the idea that we had studied earlier, that workers must take over all the properties. Okay, now Lenin said to rename party so that the idea of Karl Marx about communist society and its radical aim could be indicated. However, it was seen that provisional government was formed recently. It was formed just after February Revolution, and in April Lenin came and demanded all those things. Means it was not even 2 months over after the formation of provisional government that all the demands was put forward by Lenin. So it was seen that provisional government was formed recently and people were also happy with the government. So while Lenin came and asked for the change in government, so people were very much surprised with the thought, with the ideas of Lenin, since everyone was supporting the provisional government. Now at once Lenin came and he demanded to give the power to the Soviet party who talked about socialism, and that is Bolshevik party, and he said that the government must be in Soviet form, not in provisional government form. Now what here it was seen that initially it was seen that other members of Bolshevik party itself was very much surprised by this theory given by Lenin and his three demands. Now people who supported Lenin thought that those theses given by Lenin was not right, and they believed that now it was not right time to take over the society, to take over Russia, but they must support the provisional government that was formed recently because they needed more support. So they said that time has not yet come for one more revolution. Whatever this was seen that whatever change they wanted after February Revolution, they already have achieved that. That was Tsar abdicated the throne and provisional government was put forward, it was formed, and people were happy with that government, and that's why initially people were not ready, as they thought that it was not the right time for the socialist revolution. But the development of subsequent months changed their attitude. Subsequent months means after February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September. In October, till October, there were certain developments which changed the mindset, which changed the attitude of those people who were initially against who were initially against Lenin's demand and thesis. Now, something changed over the period of time that diverted the mindset of people, and eventually they supported Lenin's thesis and argument. Now, what happened that people's mindset changed towards the provisional government? So whatever has happened, all those things forms the reason for October Revolution. Okay, now see, what was the reason for October Revolution? Workers, it was seen that workers movement grew. That means the workers were participating in workers association, and they were forming their own Soviet and factories committee, as they were given freedom to form Soviet after provisional government was set up in Russia. Now, due to which they started questioning the industrialists, who, that is the trade union, questioned the owner of the industries where they were working. Okay, now, as earlier we had seen that provisional government was dominated by industrialists, means earlier people were against Tsar, and now provisional government in which there were industrialists, and as trade union association were formed who opposed these industrialists, we see that the same situation arose again, that is people went against provisional government as earlier they went against the Tsar. So same situation formed in Russia, and in that army also soldiers, it was seen that in army group also soldiers were forming committee, and earlier army was under Tsar. It was seen earlier army was under Tsar, and earlier army now after the monarchy ended, provisional government established which led the country. Now there were different groups and parties like Bolshevik party. Now army also supported some group in which some of the army member supported the Bolshevik party also. So it was seen that the army was also forming committee, and bifurcation was seen in army also. And in June about 500 Soviet means till June 500 Soviet was formed in Russia. You can see the difference that earlier it was only Petrograd Soviet. In February it was formed, and in June there were 500 Soviet, and these 500 Soviet sent their representative to all the Russian Congress of Soviet. Okay, now the Soviet forms, as I said, they were formed in Russia, were 500 in number, and all those were sent their representative to the all Russian Congress of Soviet. Now in India, for example, what is all Russian Congress of Soviet? In India we can see that all the parties were called out in round table conference, and the national parties were called out in round table conference for discussion. Here also all the representative of the groups formed were called out, were sent to the all Russian Congress of Soviet for discussion. And in Russia, provisional government was ruling, that is Petrograd Soviet. So all the Soviet group went to meeting of all Russian Congress of Soviet. So, and their people representation started, and they started to question government, and they were bifurcating, they were differentiating. Okay, so what was seen that all Russian Congress Soviet had more Bolshevik supporter. It was in that discussion it was seen that they had more Bolshevik supporter, and now provisional government was also not happy with that. So why they were not happy? Because all this was seen as the growing influence of Bolshevik to take power against provisional government. Now, as the provisional government saw its power being reduced, it took stern measures or step against spreading discontent in Russia. And what were those steps that were taken by provisional government? They started to stop the workers who were getting started to take control over the factories, and the leaders of those factories workers were arrested. The leader of different parties were also arrested, of different group or Soviet were arrested, and all these things were done to control the growing discontent in Russia. And demonstration that was being held staged by Bolshevik in July 1917 were also sternly repressed by provisional government, because provisional government now also they were the most powerful, because it was the government in Russia, and now people were against provisional government and they started to protest. But as provisional government had power in their hand, they used it and fired upon the demonstrators. Now the situation in the cities were worst, and which turned to be the reason of October Revolution. Ultimately, it turned to be the reason of October Revolution that we will see further. Now, Bolshevik leader had to flee as the demonstrators were being fired upon. And these demonstrators belonged to Bolshevik party or the supporter of Bolshevik party. What happened? Bolshevik leaders they had to flee or hide from the provisional government, because as they knew that the power was held by the provisional government and actions were taken against the protesters. And when Bolshevik party feared that this provisional government now took the monarchy system, and if it won't be controlled soon, it might convert into dictatorship, means a person will be chosen and he will be put as a dictator of Russia. But the situation, this was all the things that was happening in the city of Russia, but the situation in countryside, that was rural area of Russia, countryside, was different. How it was different? Peasant and socialist revolutionary leader pressed for redistribution of land in countryside. Okay, means the land should be distributed among the people, peasant. And earlier we had seen that there were socialist revolution that believed in violence, and socialist Democrats, that was Lenin wing, that is Bolshevik party. Now they started to pressurize nobility to redistribute land, which was a part of April Thesis, the second demand of Lenin. And the land committee was also formed to see towards this, and after this it encouraged the peasants to seize the land between July and September 1917, and all these provided a very fertile land for October Revolution to take place in, to take the event to happen in October. So this was all the reason. That's why October Revolution started in October, and it also ended in one day. That we will study in next class. Till here, thank you and have a nice day.